You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor. Subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments below. Be sure to smash that like button. Sean, I wanted to ask, because obviously people here, I mean, you know this as well as I do, they're obsessed with LSU, and this is such a massive moment right now because they're going on the road to Mississippi State to start conference play. And the one big sort of feeling of anxiety everyone has, which is two with this week in particular, but on the offensive side, it's the fact that LSU's offensive line has really struggled. They're just not settled there. And they just haven't even been able to generate a running game against even McNeese in Central Michigan. So they tried a lot of different stuff this week, jet sweeps and bubble screens and all that stuff. Is it possible, or at what level can you possibly win when your offensive line can't get a push and you just can't physically establish a running game?
You'll beat teams you're supposed to beat because you're just physically superior. You'll win once in a while because your quarterback has a monster game. Max played well last week. I mean, I didn't get to see the whole game. I saw highlights of it, and you know, you'll have that, or whoever the quarterback is, on whether it's LSU or somebody else who's like them. But when it gets right down to it, at some point in time, especially in the conference they play in, if you're not physical, then you'll get. We've seen it. We've seen it I've watched it at my school at SC, Matty, for a while now. We've got personnel. We've got tremendous perimeter guys. But when we run into Stanford or we run into Utah, we'll beat them once in a while because the guys have good game, and we're probably physically superior to some of those teams because our recruits. But we run into them, and if we're not having a special day on the perimeter, we get our ass kicked. And we did against Stanford. Stanford's personnel's not better than we are, and I don't mean it arrogant. It's just a fact. But they dominate the line of scrimmage. I've seen this movie so many times over the course. Now, if you can do both, it's great. You want to have a quarterback, and then the opposite is true. If you can't throw it in college football or the NFL, and all you can do is run it, you're going to win some. You're going to win some matchups, but you can't survive just being they hand it off and throw it 18 times a game in pro football anymore. There's 85 Bears aren't in the league, so in college football, and you're playing the Georgia and Florida, and I mean the physicality, and that's what separates it. Finesse teams don't usually win championships. They can get close. Oklahoma's not winning a championship this year. Right. Even if Rattler plays out of his mind, they're going to run into a big physical team along the way who runs as fast as them and can play, and their quarterbacks can play decent. And defense and physicality, they're just going to beat them down and limit their possessions. That's what happens. And it's so odd to me when I'm talking about LSU or Southern Cal talking about, because they always have superior perimeter athletes, how we get pushed around. And maybe, just maybe, it also comes to the point, Matt, that maybe LSU's football team this year just isn't really physical up front. Sometimes you try to force a square peg in a round hole, so you say, well, let's just try to, maybe we throw it to soften them up, and we can mix in some quick screens and use that as an extension of the run, but can't hold the ball long. And you run into in a playoff situation, and who's ever on your schedule, teams that run into Georgia, if they think if you're not physical, you're going to, matter of fact, you better bring a good supply of body bags to the stadium, no matter who they are. We see it every week. So it's shocking that LSU can't move a pile and can't protect a quarterback, but sometimes they'll just have those seasons. So their perimeter people and their defense better be damn good in big games, or it will be frustrating along the way, because that's not the LSU I know.
So that's kind of the problem this week, right? So you go on the road to Starkville, and you're going to face this Mike Leach team, and the LSU defense, kind of the MO the past couple of years, Sean, is, you look last year against Mississippi State, they allowed 600 passing yards. It's the crossing patterns. It's the coverage bust. So here's Durante Jones, a new defensive coordinator, matching wits against Mike Leach. What do you do? What do you do? I mean, you saw him all those years out in the Pac-12. What do you do to slow down this Mike Leach offense?
Well, the way you used to slow down Mike Leach's offense, and Mike's been one of my best friends for years, and he and my brother went to college, so I've talked football with Mike so many times in his philosophy. Mike want to run the football, Matt. They'd love to spread you out and hand it off 25, 30 times and rush for $180. They would love to do that. We see those teams, and you can get big rushing games, especially if you're playing against a Mike Leach team and you're so concerned about the shallow crossers and the mesh plays and the bubble screens where the ball is coming out and they're running picks and your guy just gets a little advantage and you have to go over the top and boom. they go out the back door, take a little shallow crosser for 75 yards. That is Mike. And Mike will have a play sheet in the size of the palm of his hand,
right.
and he already knows how he's going to attack LSU. I'm just telling you, he does. So, and some days it'll look awesome, but you know how you beat that? You better win on first down, meaning you better create a new line of scrimmage and make it second and third and long to where the quarterback may have to hold it a little longer, and then you better be multiple. Because if you line up in zone, their quarterback will get into and don't hit him. Mike's offense is made for that. And then if you decide to pressure and they know where the blitzes are coming from, if you don't get there, Mike always has a guy where it's a built-in hot and a built-in side adjust where he raises up and hits the quick slant to the slot or the outside hitch screen and then block it. Mike will always have something built in. Where you get him and they look ugly is when you beat them on first down and you control the clock and you control the tempo of the game. But if you come out and you're down 21 and they score quickly and you're reeling and chasing around, and they don't have Michael throw 80 times to beat LSU if that's what it is. He doesn't care. I'm just telling you, there's no alumna. Well, you need to run the football. Mike will say, really? He'll throw if it took 85 times to throw the football, he'll do that. And if it has, but you're going to see it's hard to offset that with sacking him because the ball comes out. You want to win on first down. I'll tell you nothing. You better take those receivers off their mark. You better. I would not give them a whole lot of room to run, and Michael motioned to try to create release options. But if you're going to give them space off the ball, even the average receivers, they'll find places to run. So you better control the line of scrimmage. I'm talking about on the perimeter where you take them off their mark, make the quarterback take 2 or 3 hitches, and then you have enough pressure back in his face to disrupt it and force second and third and longs. And Michael still throw. Michael go for it on 4th and 3 from his own 42. And if he's feeling it, look out, because if he's in that rhythm, there's no mercy. But you got to hit him, you got to win on first down, and you better take those receivers off their mark and make the quarterback hold it a split second longer. They want to be in rhythm and get the ball out quick and make them run after the catch. And make no mistake, when Mike Leach is coaching, he'll have an advantage on the defensive coordinator because Mike is one of the most brilliant people I've ever met. He thinks out of both sides of his mind at the same time. Even though they don't have the personnel LSU does, Mike makes up for it by making sure that personnel creates major mismatch opportunities.
I mean, Sean, they did it last year. I mean, that's the apprehension.
Yes.
He did it so well a year ago, and so a lot of LSU fans are looking. And look, Ed Ogeron said it in his media availability yesterday. You know, it's like he was asked point blank, you know, how are you sure it's going to be different than last year? He goes, I'm not. I mean, we'll work really hard. We're going to do our best. But I think that what happened to LSU last year against Mississippi State, I mean, Sean, they set an SEC single-game record passing.
Yes, I watched it. And that's Mike, and he gets to the point, Matty, if he only has to run 5 plays on Saturday, he may dress it up with different formations. And if he's killing you, he'll run the same play 18 times in the game. It may look a little different to people at home on defense because it's out of trips or out of 2x2 or a little motion or a different guy running it. But if he's in that rhythm, like I said, Mike is truly, and you know what, and they can look really ugly. Quarterback, and if the quarterback's having a bad day and getting knocked around a little bit and tip balls, that's another thing. You take advantage of balls on shallow crossers, it hits off the back shoulder and goes up in the air. You've got to catch the ball on defense because even if you're up 21-0, the way that the offense has been, the blocking at LSU, Mike's not out of it. If he could care less, and if he's up by 30, you can rest assured he's not going to hand it off and end the game and shorten the game. He's still going to use the passing game to create space and to widen you out. And then when you get tired of that, if they're on one of their days where they're going well, then they will pound you inside late, and you'll get space to run, and they'll hand the ball off on 2nd and 14, and a guy will run for 21. That's Mike Leach, and you've seen it before. That movie doesn't change. The rapper does, depending on where he is, but the movie doesn't. It's a sequel time and time again. That's Mike.
I got one more follow-up to something you said a bit ago, and it was interesting when you said it because you went through what he'll do if you play man or zone. So last year, and so this has been just the big conversation piece here. Last year, Bo Pelini didn't change. They played man coverage the entire game. They got burned. Leach, after the game, even said, well, I couldn't believe they just kept saying man. We just kept throwing it over the top of them. I mean, It didn't change. So now the whole thought is, well, LSU needs to go play zone this week. So you're saying, though, you can't just commit to playing zone against Mississippi State all game?
If it's a quarterback, and that's the thing. Like somebody was asking me about Davis Mills, the young quarterback who's starting this week, and what young quarterbacks go through. Some coordinators will go with this. They'll play zone for young quarterbacks because quarterbacks don't get through their progressions. The young ones, they bail out quick. You know what I mean, Matt? They'll get to the first one. By the time they get to the second one, they'll start to feel antsy and they'll bail out. Where if you just went through your progressions, so they're counting on you to lose patience. That's what defensive coordinators count on. The other side is when you're playing man the whole time. Let's say you have a quarterback that's young or even if it's experienced, and Mike will always get a transfer in there or something. Mike has some experience, but you're going to play press man the whole time. It becomes a one-man read. Pick your side off the free safety if it's man-free, and it takes the read and decision-making out of it for a quarterback, and you're not holding the ball long. 3 steps on a slant, 3-step fade, boom, get the ball up and let it go. And if their receivers get off the line, you're in trouble no matter how superior your athletes may be. They create that through picks and all that. So I personally, if you're going to line up in zone for 80 snaps, Mike will find the quarterback enough. Now, you may have to hold on, but Mike will find ways to sit down in option routes and do it. But you're playing right into his hands to get rid of the football and use pick plays and man, and all they need is a little bit of space because Mike loves accuracy. He wants his guys to be accurate and a lot of run after the catch. But Bo Pelini last year, you can't line up against any quarterback. I would be multiple. I would not show him the same look 8 times. If you want to play man, fine. Give me some 2-man. Change it up with 2-man with a zone blitz and then drop. There's got to be stuff. You can't just line up with it. He's too smart. Now, if his quarterback's having a bad day, he may throw 5 picks. Yeah. But Mike's going to keep throwing if that's the case. So, Matty, I know they got beat last year, but this is a different year. It's different, different personnel. But if you're going to line up like that and press, and you can't stop them and take them off their mark, meaning the receivers, it'll be a fade throwing contest, and he'll win enough of them to score 40. That's just what he banks on. But if you're going to play zone the whole game, Mike will run it. If you're playing 2 high safeties, that kind of zone, they'll just hand it off because you don't have a safety down in the box. They'll hand it off, get 6 yards. Then you'll get impatient on defense, and Mike will throw a slant or a fade on 3rd and 1 at midfield for a touchdown. So he has no premeditated ideas what you're going to do. You do one, he'll say, "Okay, cool." That's it. Mike is one of the most unique cats, as you guys know. But even when you're sitting down with him, it's hard to keep up. He'll talk Shakespeare in 1 second and be talking X's and O's on the other side of his mind. The guy's a whack job, and I mean that affection. I love it. So you're in for a real chance. If their quarterback's hot and you don't hit him, you're in for one hell of a challenge.
I read his book on Geronimo. I thought it was going to be something. Something to do with like football strategy with some of the Indian war. Like, nope, it was just a book about Geronimo. That was it.
Oh no, Mike is the football version, but not quite. And I love Bill Walton.
Yeah,
you ask a question, he can go about 9 minutes, and now, Sean, listen, we're going to do this, but if they want to do, and he'll ask him who the best coach that he's ever coached is. You say probably a high school coach. They're usually the best coaches. That's what he told me. And Mike, and it's like, boy, he's fascinating. But I'll tell you what, you let him get going and get to a rhythm and feeling it, and show him the same look. He'll talk to his guys on the sideline, and in about 3 minutes, he'll have you in a chase mode that you don't want to be in.
This is an education every week, man. I always enjoy it. He's Sean Salisbury on Twitter at Sean Unfiltered. Y'all be sure to give him a follow. Joins us here on Tuesdays. Thank you, Sean.
You're the best, brother.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.